Should you see Saw? Opinions are up and down.
Fuck you.
All right.
So, this one's your show, man.
All right. So
one.
first, a half-hour retrospective of the Saw franchise.
Oh, great. Here we go. All right. I guess I'm not waking up tomorrow. All right.
I've given him this. Are you gonna die? Like, what the fuck?
It's more like I'm never going to sleep because we're going to talk about Saw for all night.
This is a speech I've already put him through several years ago. Just some background. I am a big fan of the Saw franchise. I'm not saying they're good, but
it's like, I don't know anyone like that in Human Centipede. I don't know anyone that's a much of a hardcore defender of those franchises than you.
The Human Centipede is a completely separate concept. Not only are they bad movies on a technical level, like they're like deliberately morally bankrupt movies. Like they are troll movies essentially. But that's another topic entirely.
We've gone over that topic. I forget like what was the movie?
I don't remember. But
it was like Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Yeah.
We went through the Human Centipede rant on Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Yep, that was
all right. For my Human Centipede rant, go look up our Man from U.N.C.L.E. review. But in the meantime, Saw. I first saw Saw. Like a lot of people. Here's the thing. I'm not trying to like flex too hard or anything, but I remember seeing the trailers for the first Saw when they were on such an indie circuit. They hadn't even been picked up by Lionsgate yet. It was just making such immense waves on the underground circuit, and it was being bid on, that the initial trailer was just like that one girl waking up in the cellar, and it's like, the key is in your best friend, and you gotta like cut him open and get it out if you want to live. And like, the trailer literally just went, how fucked up is that? It used the word fucked up. Like, it was that underground. But, got picked up by Lionsgate, released in 2004. And I really loved it initially. Because it was just like, it was just such a weird new concept. And a lot of the fad of torture porn that came out after that was kind of obsessed with the wrong part of it, where these torture puzzles had kind of a point to the story, and they were creative and weird and fun in a weird way. Where, you know, there were other movies that came out where they were just like, you just want to watch people suffer. And I've watched those movies. They're not good. They're not interesting. They're not fun. You don't care about anybody. You're not rooting for anybody. Like, you're just like watching people suffer for no reason, and it's not a good time. So, let me adjust this light in the back. There we go.
That's better.
That's more reasonable. So, I remember them saying that there were going to be 7 Saw movies, or 6 Saw movies when the second one came out. Because the second one came out, I watched it, I was like, what the fuck is this? This is totally different. Like, this is weird. And they had given it, to a different team of people. But they said that they had
8 movies?
Just shut up. They had a plan for how they wanted to play out the rest of the story arc. And I thought that was really creative and interesting. I thought, how many movies do you see these days that aren't based on books or something like Harry Potter, or Hunger Games or Twilight or whatever, where there is like a 5 or 6 movie arc where there is an actual plot that is already solutioned across all of them. And even then, sometimes with those books, they weren't originally written with the full plot in mind. So, it's the Saw franchise did something interesting. While it didn't exactly stick the landing sometimes, Saw 5, it still attempted something that you don't really see within movies these days, or even horror franchises. And I really appreciated that. And I really liked how Saw 6 ended. I appreciated that Saw 7 tied up some of the loose ends, but I kind of wished it would have ended with Saw 6. I kind of liked that as an ending. But yeah, anyway, so then Jigsaw came out, which just doesn't make sense within the franchise timeline. Like, it really doesn't. The complexity of the traps, it does not line up with the way that the main franchise went, and it just kind of conflicts with the main canon. It's kind of more like a spin-off, like it's kind of the Amazing Spider-Man to the main Spider-Man franchise. Like you want to see it as a full-on spin-off rather than being an actual entry in the original Saw series. But now we come to Spiral.
Yeah, which is, I guess, their attempts to reignite the franchise.
Not reignite, really. It's a spin-off. It feels like a standalone spin-off.
Yeah, which doesn't really have much to do with Saw for the most part.
Here's what I like about it, though.
Okay.
I do appreciate that this sets up the option for this to essentially become an anthology series. And that also means that, if you watch the original Saw franchise, spoiler alert for Saw overall, or skip ahead a couple minutes if you don't want to hear this, but I don't know. But like Jigsaw dies in Saw 3, and the rest of the franchise is his disciples basically fighting with each other on how to carry on his legacy to the point where they start killing each other off. And that's really why the traps, as the series moves on, some of them are flat out inescapable, and it's because there's a corrupt cop who's just using this as his own twisted system of justice, even though he has a fucked up sadism to him, and he doesn't really care about justice in the first place. So that was a really interesting thing there, and I enjoyed how, in this one, it's the idea that Saw's legacy lives on somehow.
I suppose.
And that was really the point of how, like, where this franchise went near the last movies, was that Saw was an idea, and Jigsaw's philosophy was an idea of how to bring corrupt people to justice, or to make people appreciate what they had and stop throwing their lives away and doing the wrong things, things like that. Mm-hmm. So this one, Chris Rock, starring in it. Samuel L. Jackson also shows up.
Yeah.
He's all right.
I could not get into him in this role.
I think he did a decent enough job. Whether or not you're able to stop looking at him as Chris Rock playing a character,
I just felt like he's trying too hard. I feel like it was like definitely a little overcompensating.
He's not exactly a top tier actor, but like Saw isn't exactly a top tier friend. We're not looking for an Oscar here.
I know, but it's more just like it's that rough guy cop stereotype to
They're all tropes.
They are all tropes, but like we see him the most, and we're the one we're supposed to take seriously. And there's scenes where they ish.
Herein lies the charm of the Saw franchise, and a lot of horror movies in general.
And there's just the parts where it just has random cuts of him going, "No!" And I'm like, okay.
No, that was him throwing a tantrum in the car. That
happens a few times.
Mainly the car one was funny because it does that jump cut, and you're like, that was unnecessary and stupid. But like, as a movie, I feel like this was kind of held to a higher standard by the people making it than Jigsaw. But
Jigsaw ended with a fucking cauliflower head.
Ironically, Jigsaw was more fun because it didn't take itself as seriously.
Yeah, I remember actually like having a good laugh out of Jigsaw because they had like Buckethead and shit like that.
Jigsaw had a good time with it and just had a bunch of really stupid setups and traps. And it didn't really try to get you invested in any of the characters, really.
No, I don't remember any character in that movie.
It's really just... It was... That's the thing. If you're going to a Saw movie not expecting, like, an actual plot or anything, Jigsaw did fine. It just had some dumb traps. This one actually tries to have some kind of, like, a pulp horror storyline. And...
Like, I can really say there was a point.
I do like the fact that this is, the targets of this killing spree are corrupt cops within a corrupt police station, and that does fall in line with Saw's approach towards things, like, because they talked about they went directly for the healthcare system at some point in that series. It has been about how while initially it was about taking on like individual people who didn't appreciate their lives or whatever, or people who had done bad things to try to reform them, there was a point where the franchise was trying to address like systemic problems. And this kind of brings that back and talks about, good cops versus bad cops. Because, Chris Rock's character is a good cop.
He's a good cop. He ran out a dirty cop, and he's basically been blacklisted by the entire police department because of it. Yeah. Everyone calls him a rat and a snitch, and like the people, cops don't respond to his backup calls. Basically, say fuck him.
Yeah.
He's a traitor to the police force, and so he has that kind of like what's it, scarlet letter on
Pretty
him?
much, yeah. So that's the thing. Like, I do like the themes that they tried to integrate into it. I like that they tried to make it an actual, like, weird mystery thing, because
I can get behind the idea and behind it. Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'm doing most of the talking here right now. But
That's what it seems like, because when it comes to the Saw franchise,
because you don't give a shit. Like,
I've maybe seen 2 or 3.
Really?
Like, I saw the original. I think the last one I watched was Jigsaw. So, like, I just do not have a connection.
Which of the
to this.
original series did you last watch?
Like the very first one.
That's it?
Pretty much, yeah.
You didn't watch the whole
I had, like...
series?
I was growing up watching
At
this.
all?
This is not something that my parents would let me watch.
All right.
And I also just didn't, like, I had no interest in the torture porn genre.
I mean, that's fair, but okay, so we're clearly going to have a Saw marathon at some point. But
So this is definitely a case of, like, I just don't have the emotional connection to this that you do.
I have all of them.
I believe that.
Yes.
I 100% believe that. That is very on brand for you.
So when we're talking about, like, what Saw is about as a franchise, like, and there was a whole thing within the Saw series that was talking, like, a good part of it was taking on the cops and taking on police corruption. Like, that was something within the original Saw series. So I appreciate them making it a central theme here, and when it comes around and explains, like, why the plot is happening the way that it is, I appreciated that. It wasn't exactly a shock.
No, I mean,
but it made sense.
Both of us figured out the twist pretty much right away.
Yeah, I mean, but it makes sense within the scope of the movie. I'm not really going for, was I surprised by the twist? I was more like, did it fit the story? And I feel like it did.
It does fit the story. Like, my problems are always, like, the story itself, and like, on a structural basis and a foundational setting is perfectly fine.
Yes.
I have no complaints with any of that. For me, like, I just could not get invested in any of it. Like, for the most part...
You're not really supposed to.
But for me, it's like... what am I supposed to cling on to then? If not
just be like, huh, okay, a story is progressing. Interesting story. I don't terribly care about any of these characters because I know that any moment one of them could turn out to be bad.
But, like, there's not even, like, a schlocky kind of element that I can get enjoyment to and look forward to. For me,
that's the thing. It does skimp on the schlock.
So for me, it's like, I can't even enjoy that. So I spent most of my time just feeling really bored. And the only time I really got, like, the only one, like, schlocky bit, I think, was with the broken glass towards the end. Was the part that I kind of...
I don't know, the wax machine thing was pretty funny. Like,
yeah, there was a little bit of that.
I don't know, each of the murders I kind of enjoyed in its own way. Like, some of them... I can't help but think about how movies are made sometimes, and when you see an actor, like, really trying to act, and you're like, alright, so pretend you're in pain, just go... Argh! Like, it can be funny sometimes. Also... I was talking about this earlier in the movie. Special effects department had a ball. There's some pretty decent gore in here.
For sure.
If you're into that kind of thing, like this, it's not excessive necessarily. I'd say the first one is the most excessive. Kind of to, kick it off with a bang. But
a little cutting your like foot off with a rusty saw. But
oh no, that was no. I mean the first one in this movie.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I thought
first one in this movie, like set it off with a bang, and like it's pretty gory. It's pretty great. But yeah, it's not the best. If you're going in there looking for like just a really shitty, fun horror movie, it's not that either. It's not exactly trying to be Seven, but at the same time, it is trying more than Jigsaw was. So
and yet, it's one of those things. Like if I had to pick one to rewatch again, I'd probably rewatch Jigsaw.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like there's this weird middle ground where you got to be careful of where. Are you going to go full stupid and have like a fun, stupid movie, or are you going to try to make a movie that's a little more serious and involved and well written and get away from that more fun stuff?
Which is fine, but you also but if you're going to do that, you also have to add more to it to make
that's my point. Like you're in danger of falling into that little valley in the middle where it's not good enough to be taken seriously as a good movie and not stupid enough to be fun as a bad movie. So this does fall into that little mediocrity center. But
and it could have been more entertaining because again, it feels like it wants to be taken seriously. And flashbacks where the only sign you have that anyone is age and they have different levels of facial hair.
I was like, oh yeah, look, this was 9 years ago. She has bangs now, but looks exactly the same.
Like she has bangs.
Samuel Jackson has a mustache.
Just has a mustache.
Terrible mustache.
Chris Rock just has a mustache and a little goatee thing going on,
fake mustache.
and a backwards hat in case you didn't know that time has passed.
There you go. Yeah.
Just okay.
We'll just give them different outfits.
It's like
At the end, did you ever watch Weeds?
A little bit.
Okay, so at the very end of the series, you know the youngest brother?
Yeah.
Okay, so the very end of the series, he's like maybe 17 years old, and they have a flash forward scene where it's like 10 years later, and seriously, they just put a mustache on him. They put a fake mustache. He looks like a child wearing a fake mustache. It is hilarious.
I kind of want to watch it just for that.
I will show you that scene. It is just. You just need to see a screenshot. It's ridiculous.
It's like I feel like Vincent Adult Man.
Yeah, it's
coming into.
It's hilarious. But this is like that in reverse. Not quite as funny because there's nothing funnier than seeing people try to be like, yeah, he's 30 now. It's just a fucking child. But yeah, so they didn't even give him like any wrinkles or anything. They just slapped a mustache on this poor bastard. But yeah, so
they're just really distracting elements from that, and then there's like the villain has this monologue towards the end, spoiler territory by the way, where he goes like the spiral is a sign of like growth and evolution. It was like I think it literally means going around in circles there.
No, I literally like turned to him. I'm like, is it though?
Like somebody please explain to this man how circles work.
This is the Dreamcast killer, you know. It's but yeah. So I mean, that's basically it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot more to say about this.
No.
I'm saying this as a Saw fan, though. It was great to finally see another Saw movie. It did feel... Weirdly, it feels more faithful to the spirit of the originals than Jigsaw was, but also not as fun, because one of the cool things about Saw as it went on was you had the kind of shitty schlocky ones, and that kind of fed into the ongoing story that took a whole 6 movies to complete, you know? So...
It didn't have the extravagance of the later sequels. It didn't have... Like,
Saw 6 is the best.
Like, even like Saw 1, like, I'm not a big fan of it. Like, I can still admire like what it did for that as an experimental, like, theatrical project.
Dude, they made that straight out of film school.
Yeah.
Like, that is a new fucking filmmaking talent that has gone on to make one of the top grossing movies of all time now. That's mind-blowing. That is a filmmaker's success story dream. Like, James Wan is... Say what you will about his movies or how stupid they are, he knows how to make a movie that's a good time. He knows how to engage his audiences. And, like, I wish him all the success in the world. Every time I see his name on something, I know that I at least am interested in seeing what it turns out to be. Even if it's going to end up being a dumb, fun mess.
Oh, dude. Like, the only reason Aquaman works is because James Wan.
He did Aquaman, dude. He did Fast 7.
Yeah.
He did Fast 7.
Did he also do Star Trek Beyond?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, which is the best of the Chris Pine Star Trek movies.
There you go. So, like, it's just, like, I do love the first Saw quite a bit. It has a special place in my heart because it's, like, the sign... It was literally the sign of... A shift in the horror genre. It did something so new and weird that it literally changed the genre for a while and still influences stuff to this day. And
I feel like what it boils down to is like when you're gonna do like try to like spin off and obviously try to branch it off into like a new sub franchise.
Yeah.
And like it needed to do something not necessarily different, but something reinvigorating. And it felt like it just kind of took too much of the middle path. Didn't take enough risks. Didn't do enough with material that was there. Didn't lean too far in one way or another. Like, it takes things in moderation, and because of that, it falls short.
It falls short in some ways. I do feel like it's them dipping their toes back into the water. Mm-hmm. And clearly, when they say from the Book of Saw, they are planning on making this like an anthology style thing.
I mean, they clearly want to.
And
just the way this thing ends.
Honestly, I really hope they do. I really hope they do. Even though this was not the best, I feel like it showed some promise, and it was definitely... It showed some more filmmaking talent than... And some people cared about this. Some people took it seriously more than people took Jigsaw. And I know that it didn't quite, like, land it, but I appreciate someone trying to do that, and I like the idea that they might take this to other places, even without Tobin Bell and all that stuff. You know, like... I can appreciate that.
I just hope the next one is just called Rhombus.
Trapezoid.
That's why we just go through like shapes and shit. Like one's called the quadratic equation.
But
x equals negative b.
Funnel.
Plus or minus square root.
But yeah, I don't know. I liked it enough. I think it's worth supporting, especially if you're a Saw fan. And I hope we see more. I really do.
If you're like me, just don't give a fuck about this franchise. Like, no disrespect to those who do. Let me be perfect. Present company excluded, of course.
I mean, no, we're gonna put on the second one right now.
Oh, goddamn!
Recording this.
I gotta go home, man. I got work. I got work tomorrow.
What time?
I gotta be up at like 10.
That's enough time for one Saw movie. It's enough time.
I don't know
it is.
Dude, I've been out literally all day. I just want to go home and lie down.
So it's time to relax with a buddy and watch a terrible movie together. Come on, buddy.
No.
So we'll figure it out. Anyway, we're gonna do it. But yeah, is that about it?
Yeah,
I give this like a solid 6 out of 10.
That's fine. I'd probably give it a little lower, but that's just me.
You're just like, it's fine. It can be. You can use that to express that it's not as good as my rating, or that it's better than my rating. You're just so passive about it.
So what am I supposed to feel about this, man?
I don't know.
The answer is nothing. I feel nothing about this.
There you go.
So, thank you guys for watching. A bunch of shit came out this week, so I'll have some stuff to catch up on this week.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Thank you guys for watching. See you later.